And let me phrase that differently. It's how does losing the access of abortion affect those who aren't directly having the abortion? So this is like family members, those who got the person pregnant, how it affects, yeah, thank you. I thought so too. Thank you. so, so yeah, how it affects society, how it affects the communities around you, how it affects the unwanted child. Um, so let's start first with how it affects the family and the person who got the person pregnant. So this affects them in basically creating a financial burden, an emotional and mental and physical burden on both parties. Um, in the US, there are not much to keep that person around, but that person will always know that they have a child walking around that they didn't want, and um, the person who gave birth can always I don't believe there's a statute of limitations on seeking excuse me, paternal care or seeking child care or assistance um, with getting them to help raise this child. Um, and also, what people aren't considering is the fact that we have an overrun, um, like adoption agencies, child protective services, and all of that are overrun. Um, and adding another unwanted child into the system is just going to make it worse, and multiply that by 1,000 or more could possibly add because this person does not want the child. I know some people will choose to keep the child, and some couples will choose to raise the child together, but that's not going to be the majority. Especially if they were people wanting to seek abortions. You're going to have a major increase of people trying to get abortions illegally now. That's going to happen one way or another. This is not news. We're going to have a major increase in abortion and illegal abortions, and a major increase in people dying related to seeking those illegal abortions. And this is going to affect the families. This is going to affect the communities that these people live in. This is going to make it like we're already in a major mental health crisis related to COVID. This is just going to add to that. The rates of suicide are very high right now, due to the financial state of our country, due to how society just treats each other, and adding the burden of unwanted children, and adding the burden of so many deaths and so many people seeking medical care because they couldn't receive a legal abortion are going to be so high that our country is not going to be able to handle it. It's going to be cataclysmic. And I wish I was exaggerating, but I'm not. We're in a major pandemic. We've had 4 waves of COVID hit this year. We've got 3 new strains coming out, and people are just we're in a major disabling event and killing event. There were 3,000 people who died last week due to COVID. So add unwanted pregnancies and unwanted children and people who can't afford medical care, and people who are struggling with mental health to begin with, and you add this burden, our suicide rates are going to skyrocket. Our rates of drug use are going to skyrocket again. And we don't have the community base, and we don't have strong enough communities to protect these people. We're so polarized that finding these communities are very hard finding people to protect you, finding that financial backing to help you raise a child you don't want, having to work jobs that are completely and utterly demoralizing. Our society has just led to basically a cataclysm. Like, if this keeps going the way it's going, it's not looking good, is what I can say. Is that, like, starting from an individual level. um yeah, thank you, that got depressing real fast, didn't it? The next question is there any good news about abortion to report? Yeah, we got Kansas completely fought back and had presidential election level turnout to vote for abortion protections. They fought against repealing their abortion in Kansas. That's a start. Right now, we have hope for Arizona. If we lose Arizona, we're fucked in the primaries. So fingers are crossed that that Arizona actually turns blue for this election. And, like, I think the best thing you can hope for is the turnout for to have one of the most the biggest turnout for those voting in this midterm election and voting at state and county levels, because that's where it all starts, and that's where you have the most power, and that's where you can affect change, and that's what these midterm elections are. And Kansas gave us hope, and we need to use that hope moving forward. Need to use that to propel moving forward. And I feel like the best way to push this hope forward is to give people actual measurable results and how to move forward in a practical sense. So just use that when you're talking to people, use that and give them the perspective that, yeah, there's a way to create change and we can do it. Just don't vote these Republican assholes into the government anymore. If we can get 2 more Democrats, 2 more Democratic seats in the Senate, we can codify Roe v. Wade, which means this abortion ban can be completely overturned. But that won't happen without those 2 seats. So we need to ensure those 2 seats are taken. That's how